Hi, I'm Don. Today we do a commission work for Eldritch Foundry. Eldritch Foundry told me or asked me to paint 5 zombie miniatures. And when I saw the miniatures, I just had to print 2 copies because I want the other half, the other 5 miniatures, to stay here in my studio. The zombies are medieval themed zombies, and we're going to paint it to look like GrimPop, like grim and scary, but at the same time, miniatures that will pop on the table. Don't get me wrong, I love grimdark, but these days I've fully embraced my GrimPop style. So watch this video as we turn these miniatures, these beautiful miniatures from Eldritch Foundry, into this. Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my studio. This channel is supported by all these awesome brands. And of course, this channel won't be possible without the awesome support of my patrons. In this video, we'll talk a little bit about color theory and color schemes and how to apply them on your miniatures so that your miniatures pop so much more. After seeing these miniatures up close, like the printed miniatures, I knew I will put a lot of blood effects. So I simply had to grab a lot of olive greens, blue grays, blue tones, and basically colors that are very far from the color red, which is, of course, blood effects. So you all know this already, like red, the complementary color of red is green. So we had to use a lot of olive greens. I use a little bit muted green so that it doesn't look like a Christmas tree. But then again, we made sure that we lay down the foundation, the color foundations for all these miniatures so that when we apply the blood effects, the red blood, it will pop so much more. Now, the main problem of sticking to a color scheme when painting a lot of miniatures, especially like this one, miniatures that doesn't really have the same uniform, the same wardrobe, is that at some point they will all look the same because you're using the same colors, the same olive greens, the same blue grays, and all that colors. So at some point, even though you're using a lot of paints, they will kind of look too similar to each other. So after painting the main clothes, I gave up. So now, I'm using a bit of yellow ochres like yellow-green, green ochres, and all those colors to like paint some of the details of the miniatures like the hair, some of the clothes, so that I create some sort of variation in between all these 10 miniatures. Of course, you can pull off like just a monochromatic bluish gray color scheme for all the models, but if you're a long-time patron or subscriber, you know that I'm not into monochromatic like color schemes. I like my models to be very vibrant and colorful, so I opted to use some yellow ochres here just to create some sort of variation. And with the flame effects here, I'm painting with aquamarine, which has the tendency to look like water. But then again, I had to create a nice contrast as we lay down the foundation for the blood effects later. Now we are painting a quick TMM, like really quick one. We're using cuttlefish colors. These are underrated paints, especially the metallic paints. They're really good. They're like better than most paints that I have, and it's just a matter of making sure that I have really nice contrast by painting darker metallics and then eventually lighter metallics for the highlights. However, since I know that I'll be putting blood effects even on these weapons, on these metallic paints, I did not really spend too much time on making sure that they look great, because the blood effects will cover most of the parts of these weapons. Although, even though I know that blood effects will make these weapons look better, I just had to make sure that I have painted really nice highlights on all these weapons, or even this armor. Now I let all this painting dry for an hour, And then I gave the miniatures a quick matte varnish, mecha matte varnish, let that dry for maybe 30 minutes, and move on to painting with oils. So the oil painting is basically adding more cool shades. Like, remember, we use cool shades, cool colors to make sure that the blood effects will pop later. Similarly, with the oil painting, I use cool shades like dark blues and dark olive greens and dark greens so that we continue to use cool colors that will lay down the foundation for the blood effects. Also, the cool shades kind of muted down all our yellow ochres. So it was a good move in terms of using all these shades to mute down the colors before we apply the effect paints. Also, I used the oil paints to paint the highlights, although it's not that obvious in the video. Now I let all the miniatures dry for a couple of hours. I used a hair dryer and then I applied another quick coat of matte varnish. After applying the quick coat of matte varnish, it's just a matter of applying all the effects paints. After applying a couple of passes of rust effects, we now apply blood effects. Similar to the rust effects, the initial application of the paint is a bit like I was keeping it safe and just applying small amounts. Because once you apply these paints, you can't really go back and remove them. So it's better that you paint smaller areas, like not overdo it at first, and then eventually build up with another pass. And here you can see I'm using a darker, thicker blood effects and then applying more as I move towards the painting of all these miniatures. So keep it slow and build up the effects. Now, before I reveal, a ton of thanks to all my patrons, because without my patrons, this channel won't be possible. So there you have it. We made sure that these models will pop so much on the table by painting with cool tones, with cool colors like olive greens. Although yellow ochres are warm, at least they're kind of far from the color red. So we made sure that our foundation, the painting of all these models are very far from the color red, and it will really make sure that the blood effects will pop so much on the table. And also, like, the really nice part of this is that I did not paint the skin. Usually I spend too much time on painting the skin. With this one, I kept it really pale. It's just the zenithal, and then I applied blood effects on top of that. The very pale skin made the blood effects pop even more. So after painting this beautiful Eldritch Foundry zombies, I bought some set of Army Painter speed paints. So the next few videos are painting with Army Painter. So do subscribe to the channel because I upload a lot of videos. That's it, Pansit. I hope you like the video and watch these other videos.